Monthly update, September 2025. I'm recording this on the 19th of October because somehow I missed to record it like right after the month. But I just wanted to keep up the streak to give a little snapshot of what is happening in my life every single month since years now already. I have my notes today here on my laptop. I also wanted to show that we rearranged our living room a tiny bit. This mirror was on the other side, and then, it's cool. It's a tiny bit different, but it makes the space a little bit bigger. And also every now and then to just get a little freshness into a space, I think is cool. To rearrange some things, can just shift the energy a little bit. Yeah, I have quite a few updates. A lot of things have happened. Health updates, business, coaching updates. I'm gonna start at the beginning of the month. This is how I had my notes. So at the beginning of the month, we went to Serbia, Diana and I, for a wedding for an old friend from Germany. He kind of grew up in Germany after, age, what was it, 5, 6, 7 or something like that. But so he's fluent in Germany. He lived there since that. And his now wife, I think they met also in Germany, but she's also from Serbia. So they did a very traditional wedding in Serbia, and it was an interesting experience. I would celebrate my wedding very differently. I'm also not a huge fan of traditions. Everything has to make sense to me. And if something doesn't make sense, to do it just because it has been done like this before, it just doesn't resonate with me. But it was cool. We spent a few days in Belgrade. We explored the city. Cool. And also, I'm not a city person. I don't really care about looking at other cities. They all look the same, more or less. There's all McDonald's is everywhere. Starbucks is everywhere. A lot more people smoked though in Serbia and in Belgrade. Another big thing that happened. So this was from the 5th to the 9th, and this last month, September, I also left the Man Circle. So I signed up for a Man Circle. It's 125 euros a month, I believe. And every Wednesday for like 2.5, 3 hours in the evening, we would meet, and there's some structure to it, some processes. The reason why I joined was I wanted to connect with more brothers, more like-minded people, but it just didn't really work for me to have like a deeper process at the end of a day. And also because of the structure, which is amazing, it was there for a reason, but because of that, there's not really a lot of time to just connect and make friends. So I left that again, which is also kind of good because soon squash is gonna start again, and I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it, and that's Wednesday evenings. So now, I don't have a conflict of those two things. Another thing that happened was that Diara and I visited TDF, Traditional Dream Factory, which is this community like an hour, 1.5 south of Lisbon, where we met initially. So when I first came to Lisbon, I was in Lisbon for 2 months, and then I traveled a little bit with a camper van, and then I ended up, because I really wanted to be in community and in nature, and I ended up living in this community for 3.5 months. And Diara and I met there. Now we came back after 2 or 3 years or so, and it was just cool to see the project again. It has changed quite a bit. There's more progress happening, and there will be a lot more happening. They're building like little condos and all kinds of things. Also, this is something that's not sure yet, but when I lived there, because I was doing my coaching sessions and so on, I needed privacy. They had like some open co-working space, and I think almost everyone really who stayed there they basically volunteered. They paid 10 euros per day for food. I think it was it, yeah. But otherwise no cost, but they would work like 4 hours a day on the land, planting things and building stuff. Super cool, but I was like, I can't do that. I'm coaching people. So I ended up paying more, and I paid even a little bit more to some German guys who left back to Germany but had a big, like a motorhome. Yeah, it was not a camper van, it was a motorhome. So that was my room then and my office. And now the camper van is, I think, now back in Germany, I believe. And they're thinking about selling it. And Yara and I are thinking about buying one. And this is connected to a topic I'm going to talk about later, which is living in nature and living in community. But what I wanted back then, we still want, we both want now, but not in some kind of open community, but living with friends, really close to each other, preferably on a piece of land together in nature. Yeah, and we're on it, and I'll have a little update about that later. Another thing that happened is that our Portuguese in-person classes started. So both Yara and I signed up for this 12-week A2 course. And last week was, I think, week 3 or 4, I'm not sure. But Yara held her presentation. So every student, with a small group, 6 people, every student has to hold 2 presentations, and mine's gonna happen next week, so I'm already preparing. So that started, and it feels really good, and I'm really hopeful that after those 12 weeks I'm kind of over the threshold that, maybe still with some struggle, but I can communicate. And I think then it's just about really exposure and using the language. Yeah, and then big updates. Well, actually, maybe switch it up. I'm gonna end with the biggest thing that was on my mind a lot, which is kind of re-establishing my coaching business and really focusing on that. But before, a health update. So I'm now in week 4 of a 12-week protocol. It's quite restrictive to heal my gut biome. It's going really well, I would say. It's hard to eat in restaurants, but I cook a lot at home. And yeah, so that started last month, and will continue to go for another 2 months. On the 24th of September, I went to a storytelling workshop, which was cool because a few years ago I read Storyworthy, a book by this guy called I forgot his full name, Matthew Dix. And I would love to get better at storytelling and even drawing out all the stories that I do have in my life. And I was very inspired when I went. They have, I think, once a month a storytelling event where you can just sign up. There's like a bit of a topic, and you tell your story on stage. And as much as I would love to do that, also with focus on coaching and so on, I have to choose my battles. And but it was good to re-spark that inspiration, and I'm sure sooner or later the time will come. Yeah, another thing that I'm doing quite a bit right now is to play paddle. Really, really fun. Usually at least once, often twice a week. And yeah, I'm getting better, and it's a great sport. Okay, and then before I go into the business stuff. So on the 27th of September, we had our first community meeting with a few friends who all shared the same vision of living in community, living in nature. And it was a difficult meeting because for once I didn't initiate it, but then I had a lot of ideas on what I wanted to discuss, and I created an agenda and so on. but I didn't really step into like full leadership because I feel like maybe I wasn't, would have to check in with others. So we met for a few hours, but we didn't get too much done. But what already emerged is that a few people who were part of that group are out, and it's good to know as well. So yeah, now we're looking to kind of extend the core group, and yeah, I really want to bring this forward, get clarity, and like, instead of having that idea floating around and then never acting on it, like, okay, let's see what is the alignment, who would be in, what are the financial resources, and so ongoing topic. But oh yeah, camper van. So if we realize that we're not going to live in nature in the next few years, which is quite likely, then we would just live here in our apartment. We love our apartment, but buy a camper van so that at least we can drive into nature and I can stay like a week in the camper van in nature, and that also feels good. It's like definitely a temporary compromise, you could say. Yeah, and regardless if we have a piece of land as well, it's just nice to have a motorhome camper van that it's a separate room in a way there, so we can also just have our separate spaces. And when we go to a festival, it's amazing to have something like that. Yeah, and now the biggest update. So I think it was maybe now 2 months ago maybe that Diara and I separated in the business. She's continuing the business that we built together. She made updates and changes and so on. And my intention was and is to get fully back into the coaching work that I've done for the last 7 years. And I fucked up a little bit. And how I did that was, so I have this client right now who's a fractional leader, and for marketing, for optimizing LinkedIn profiles and so on, it's really good to have a clear target audience. And then I was like, yeah, maybe I could work with fractionals. Like, sure, why not? They can be amazing people who have a lot of experience already, and they have values like they want more freedom. This is why they're not working in one company anymore, but working, at part-time in different ones. And I have a friend who has a huge email list with fractionals because he has a fractional job board. And so he offered me to write a little promotion of something that I want to give for free to his community. So it took a while to create that offer, which was a LinkedIn strategy session, because I figured like that's something that would resonate because they are looking for new jobs, and how to use LinkedIn to get new clients might be interesting to them. So I built a landing page and all of that. And I did a really great job. I think it also worked really well. I had like over, I think 14 people reached out, wanted to talk to me. I had a bunch of calls in my calendar. But after I did a few of those calls, I'm like, I don't feel inspired. I'm not really looking forward to more of those calls. Like, what's happening? And what I noticed is now I wanted to go back into the pure coaching work, going really deep with people, looking at their dreams, their fears, how they can show up more powerfully in their life. What are the insecurities they hold, like the internal things. And then I'm on calls with people looking over their LinkedIn profiles and helping them with their LinkedIn strategy. The reason why I did it was just a really great opportunity. Like my friend offered that to me, and it's like, yeah, this makes sense. I have a client right now who's a fractional, we're doing amazing work together, but it was still not honoring what I really feel called to do. So now I'm already kind of past that. I realized that I let it go, but this is what's happening this month to get on track. But yeah, it was very interesting, and it's also a good example that what we help others with can be really hard to do for ourselves. I have that actually come up quite a bit in conversations with my clients, because sometimes they feel weird about struggling with something that they help other businesses with, for example, or other people. And I think it's completely normal, because when we give advice to someone else or we help them, we are not entangled with all the fears and the stories and the insecurities, the ego, like all the things that we don't even see. So when we try to help ourselves, it can be much, much harder, even with the same topics. And that was a perfect example of that. And I realized that, and I even like wrote here in my journal an apology to myself of like not really honoring the work I want to do, the way I want to do it. Yeah, and moving forward, that's something that I really want to be mindful of, that I'm staying in full integrity. Like, this is the work I do, this is who I work with, this is how I work, and not changing that in order to do better marketing or anything like that. Yeah, that's it. I'm excited already to share this month's update, because my two brothers came for a week and we had an amazing time here in Lisbon, or Portugal. And yeah, but that's everything that happened in September, more or less. And yeah, talk soon. Peace.